right, we're calling the meeting to order, Selectmen's meeting. Butch, you want to do the honors?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
All right. Announcements. The Select Board will meet on the following dates. Regular meeting 6 p.m. August 10th and August 24th, 2009. Work sessions prior to the regular meetings will start at 5 p.m. All of the above meetings will be held in Town Hall unless otherwise posted. Weather observations for the month of June are posted in the lobby, the front lobby at Town Hall. We need approval of the work session minutes for June or July 13, and also the minutes of the regular meeting. Do I have a motion on the work session minutes?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the work session minutes for July 13. Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. And the approval of the minutes for the July 13 regular meeting. I have some comments that on page 2, the amphitheater, it says, Charles Berman discussed the construction with start of the walkway over tomorrow. I don't know what that means. I changed that to Charles Berman discussed the construction, that construction will start on the walkway cover at the amphitheater tomorrow. In addition, I have one other comment I'd like to change, and that is on page 4, the last paragraph. The town needs to inform, let's see what it says here. The town needs to inform the Department of Transportation that they have no intention of purchasing that land. And a third comment, page 5, under public comments, second item, Tim Keefe, a male citizen. I took that out because I think everybody knows he's a male and he's a citizen. So, Tim Keefe voiced his opinion regarding the skate park.
It's been affirmed. You have to understand, Mr. Chairman, that we have our summer person on for the minutes.
Is that all right?
Sometimes they're just going by the voice and they're hoping that they get it right.
A male citizen. All right. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the board meeting on July 13 as amended. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. Agenda review. I don't have anything. Appointments. Do we, are we going to have appointments tonight, or?
No, Mr. Chairman, due to illness in the family, we're going to wait a couple of weeks on that.
Okay. Updates, anyone? Under correspondence, we received a letter from the New Hampshire Housing. This is to inform you that the New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority, the authority, has received an application for federal housing tax credits from FPIC, First Plymouth Investment Corporation, for the Plymouth Woods Family Housing Project in Plymouth, New Hampshire. If awarded such a credit, the developer will agree to rent to households that meet federal income requirements. Federal statutes for the Housing Tax Credit Program require us to solicit your comments on the project. Please submit any comments you may have to the authority by July 31, 2009. You are not under any obligation to respond, and the proposed project will not be disadvantaged if no response is sent. In many cases, project sponsors have already included letters of support from elected officials in their application. The Housing Tax Credit Program is established under Section 42 of the United States Internal Revenue Code. The authority's program rules, that is, qualified allocation plan, can be found in our website, www.nhhfa.org, under the Business Partners / Multiple Family section. If you have any questions concerning this matter, please contact Christopher Miller at 310-9213 or Mark Koppelham at 310-9281 at the authority. I've asked Miriam and Paul if they would respond to this letter by the date indicated, the 34th. I think this has come before the board before, maybe in a different form, and I think we should outline our position again. So you're going to take care of that, Miriam?
I will take care of it.
Anyone have any comments? No? All right. Land permit announcements. Permits are available for review in the lobby of the Select Board's office. Do we have any permit applications? Announcements to
We
make?
do that downstairs.
Okay.
Now that we have the building inspector, we're not going to be reading them off like we used to.
Yeah. They'll be in the
They're
lobby
always
for review.
They're always available
All right.
in the lobby.
Under Chairman's comments, I just have one. This is a blatant promotional announcement. The Rotary is having a duck race on the 22nd of August. They are, the program, they dump 2,200 ducks into the river, little plastic ducks with numbers on them. And they'll be corralled down by the amphitheater, and the winning duck is a $1,000 prize, and I think there's 100 other prizes that range from probably $100 to a free duck. This is a fundraising project that I think is it's something the Rotary, they've done so much with the amphitheater, probably between the original amphitheater construction project and the cover that they just recently put in. They're in the range of $85,000 or $90,000. So I urge everyone to attend on the 22nd, and they are selling tickets to the duck race, where you get each ticket is $5, or the 6 tickets for $20, and each ticket is numbered to correspond to the winning duck. So I urge everyone to participate. It's going to be fun, and it's a good civic project. Other than that, I have nothing to say. We have approved purchase orders. There are none. We don't have any purchase orders. Well, we did approve them, but they're...
You haven't approved any purchase orders yet.
Okay. No. All right, we have the new purchase orders. Is Peter here?
No,
No.
but I could do this one.
All right.
I'll update the board. This is for the new paint striper to paint the lines out on Main Street. I'd like to give a quick update on why those lines aren't painted right now either. If you notice, we put little white marks where the cars are to park, and it's obvious that if you just park at a meter, you're safe to begin with. But the reason why we're not going to paint the lines yet, we're waiting for the double yellow line to come down Main Street, because believe it or not, Main Street goes in and out so much that if we just went from the curb out the same distance on every line, you would actually, if you look down, visibly down the middle of Main Street, the lines will look like that. So we actually do it the other way the first time. The first time we ever lay down parking lines, we put the stripe down the middle of the road, we measure off of that stripe, and then one line might be 10 feet long, another line might be 8.5 feet long, but they look visually the same as you're viewing it down Main Street. It's just aesthetics. You'd never notice it in the past because usually that center line's always there. Now that we have new blacktop out there is no center line to go by. So Peter could go out there and attempt to paint lines, but just look better if we could just wait a little while longer. We've been viewing the traffic, monitoring it. Seems like there's no problem parking. Everybody's figuring out where to park. We haven't had any violations because of the lines not being there yet, so we'd rather just wait.
When's the state gonna do the yellow line?
I don't know, Mr. Chairman. I would say it's pretty soon. They're in the area again, so I noticed that they're doing some cleanup down further on Route 3.
Okay. All right, we have a fire department PO for...
Oh, you still have to vote.
Oh, do we have to approve this?
Yep.
All right. I need a motion to approve $4,400 to Franklin Paint Company in Franklin, Massachusetts for a Greco 3900 line laser 4 with a second gun. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Second? It's been moved and seconded to approve purchase order Franklin Paint Company, amount of $4,400. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'd like just to add to Chairman that this was approved at the March town meeting with a warrant Article 25. So.
Okay. And now we have the fire department as a purchase order in the amount of $19,997 for a defibrillator Life Pack 15. You want to talk about that, Casino?
This device is on a replacement schedule that was put in place a while ago. It's on a 3-year replacement cycle. With these devices that we're purchasing now, we can up that to a 12-year cycle at least, due to the technology, the capability of upgrading these systems. These devices, for the most part, are used on pretty much every breathing difficulty, chest pain, anything like that. The protocol now states that the patient gets a complete workup. So it gets used quite a bit. It hasn't come to the local setting yet, but this device will read 12 lead, which is they can get a better picture of the heart, electronically what it's doing, and the hospital's gearing up to be able to receive that, and they might be able to say that, okay, skip out the middleman, take him right down to a cath lab like down in Manchester, so that this person has a better chance of surviving a cardiac event. So this one that we're purchasing is going to make it so both ambulances have that technology. The one that we're getting rid of, the older one, did not have that technology, but the company was going to give us $4,500 trade-in on that, which is quite a bit. Because the Life Pack 12 that we typically buy, about 2 weeks ago, the salesman found out that they no longer support that. They don't sell them anymore. They can't get parts for them anymore. So they're going with the Life Pack 15, which is a much better unit. The guy came up and dropped it from 10 feet and swung it around by its cables. Not that we do that with the equipment, but their asking price was $30,000, and we have beat them up because it was such short notice, and we did our budget based on the figures that they gave us. So we've been working very hard with them to get that down to this level. And the reason why we don't go shopping out for other devices that are out there is because all the restocking, patches and everything else are done through the hospital. It coincides with the other devices that we do have. So if we were to go with another company, we would have to go completely 100%, and that would be at a much higher cost. And then you got to train everybody in 2 different versions of how this thing runs. So.
Now, is this the $19,997? Is that net of the trade-in or the trade-in in addition?
No, that is so far all that we've beat him up. We've got it from 30 down to that figure.
Okay. So
There are little incidental.
That includes the trade-in.
Right. That price that you have includes the trade-in. There are other little incidentals that go with it that they're accessories that if we find that we need them, that are, $35 here or something like that. But this is it in a nutshell.
Any questions? Have a motion? To approve the purchase order to the Psycho Control Inc. in Redmond, Washington for one Life Pack 15 defibrillator, 2 lithium-ion batteries, 1 Life Pack 15 bag, and shipping charges in the amount of $19,997.
So
We have
moved.
a motion made by Darrell, seconded
Second.
by Valerie. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The PO is approved. Thank you. And the next is the Police Department.
The lieutenant's going to fill in for the chief.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Good. So far, so good. I thought I needed that defibrillator a little earlier, but other than that. You want to talk to us about this?
Which one are we talking about
The
first?
Information Management Corporation's $7,124 DMIMC software.
And basically what that is, it's our annual fee we pay for software support and licensing agreement. Basically, it's our police software. We need that to dispatch, do police reports, collect data, and produce statistics. It's an expense that we have every year. It's annual. It's pretty straightforward.
Is it the same as last year, same cost?
Yes. I don't know that it's exactly the same as last year. It is.
All right, any questions? Comments? Motion?
Second.
Moved by John, seconded by Darrell to approve the purchase order for one DM.IMC software package for $7,124. Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The PO is approved. The next is the Police Department, Central New Hampshire Special Operations Unit, Enfield, New Hampshire annual dues for Special Operations Unit, $2,600. It's for a period July 1, 2009 through June 30, 2010.
Basically, again, that's an annual fee that we pay to join the Central New Hampshire Special Operations Unit. I think it's a valuable program to be involved in. Basically, it's the softer, gentler word for a SWAT team in the event we need one. We do have it at our disposal. That's what we pay the annual dues for. But they go above and beyond just special duties like that. They've been used in Lincoln before to search and rescue people lost in the woods, stuff like that. So they go above and beyond the normal SWAT functions that anybody would do. So I think it's a very valuable thing to be part of.
Mr. Chairman, what difference is that from the New Hampshire State Police Special Unit?
Well, basically, the state police is just that. It's run by state police, and it's their unit. This is independent in that, and this covers the Central New Hampshire Special Operations. In other words, it's a central part of New Hampshire. It does drift a little bit north and south more than just the central. Off the top of my head, do you remember how many PDs are actually involved in that?
It's 13.
Yeah, it's like 13 PDs that are involved. Sergeant Elizabeth Scrafford from our department is a member on the team.
So it's not a duplication of
No.
special?
No.
Bobby Comey is
Yeah, right.
the head of this,
Yep.
separate from the state police unit.
Okay.
It's easier for us to get this one.
And it was budgeted,
Yes. Yeah, we budget annually.
both of these were?
It's a line
Yes.
item.
Yep.
It has its own line.
Any other comments? Questions? Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the Central New Hampshire Special Operations Unit's annual dues, $2,600, period July 1, 2009 through June 30, 2010. Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The PO is approved.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I didn't hear you.
The next is the accept a contract and approve purchase order for certified computers, $4,500 for fiscal year 09-10 labor service contract. Paul?
Mr. Chairman, it's just an annual fee that we pay, and even though we are using them a lot more, they did state that they kept the fee the same. They didn't increase the amount.
This is for all the machines in the building?
Yep, that's our tech service for this building.
These guys come up from Northfield.
They're right past Kentucky Fried Chicken in Tilton. Whatever town that is, Pembroke? Mm-hmm. It's right on like the Pembroke-Tilton border.
Questions, comments? Motion?
So moved.
Second? Motion's been made by Darrell, seconded by John Kelly to approve the Certified Computer Solutions LLC purchase order for labor and service contract, $4,500. Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? PO's approved. All right. Moving right along. Committee reports. Valerie?
Nothing.
Well, I went to the Water District meeting 2 weeks ago. It was fairly uneventful. I should note that the planning committee has put Jack Scarborough on as their rep to the Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District, and I guess he'll start attending at the next meeting tomorrow, at which I'll be present. They're moving right along with their project to rebuild the sewerage system. I think they've got a bond issue of $6 million, give or take. They're trying to get, and they're still pretty high on the list for a federal grant. It's about 50%. I think it's a 50% forgivable loan. But they've engineered the project to within, I think it's a 95% level at this point in time. You go to their meetings and they sit there for hours going one line at a time through prints that are 8 inches thick. And I think they're probably on the verge of starting the project. John, do you have any report? Nothing? Darren? I'm the only one? Geez, the duck race and the sewage treatment plant. Okay, other business. Miriam Bader, community planner. Jeff Lewis, North Point Engineering, to discuss the Boulder Point Drive.
All right, so as we discussed in the work session, we've got Mike McGinley here, developer, Kevin French, a local surveyor, and Jeff Lewis, an engineer. And they're before you tonight to clarify their plans for installing a traffic light at the intersection of Boulder Point Drive and Tenny Mountain Highway, for realigning Boulder Point Drive to have it be the most safe alignment, to permit a sign in the right-of-way of Boulder Point Drive, and to clarify how and when we're going to be opening the gate, the Walmart connection gate. So I've laid out the 3 motions that they're wanting you to consider, and then I think they've prepared a presentation. Correct, Kevin, are you going to be talking, or? Kevin, are you going to be talking before the board, or
yes.
Jeff?
Well, I think both of us, probably all
Okay.
of us before we're done.
Okay.
Easel. So you want board action on these 3 items tonight?
Right,
Okay.
right. So we need 3 motions. One is, once the traffic light's operational, the Walmart access way will be opened under the authority of the Board of Selectmen. 2, the Board of Selectmen grant permission to install a sign in the Boulder Point Drive right-of-way. Brian Young has already received permission to install a sign that's currently existing there for Boulder Point Park. So the suggestion was made that Mike McGinley work with Brian Young so that they could use that one existing sign structure. And I know that Mike McGinley has talked with Brian Young, and I think he'll let us know what exactly happened with that conversation. But optimally, that would be great if we could just have that one sign structure and they could both advertise on that one existing structure. And 3, that Boulder Point right-of-way, when it needs to be relocated, that there's a motion from the Board of Selectmen to okay this needed change, whatever the relocation is that's demanded by engineering concerns, and the width might have to adjust to maybe widening the width for Boulder Point Drive.
Okay, thank you. Gentlemen.
Kevin French, if I may, to show you what it presently exists, this is the existing right-of-way, the dash, these kind of broken dash lines are the existing right-of-way of Boulder Point Drive as it exists now. This yellow area is the existing edge of the pavement, you see now. There was a sign, Brian Young got a variance for a sign at this location within the right-of-way back when he owned the road prior to his dedication of the road. Right now, the town owns the fee title to Boulder Point Drive. In working with the state and going through things and re-engineering this, in order to align it, put lights in and things like that, it was decided because they wanted to line it up somewhat with the driveway across the street, it would have to be relocated down. It's about 41 or 2 feet down towards the east. This blue line would represent where the new pavement would be. And this area, basically this area in here, this triangular piece, would end up having to be dedicated at some point to the town as part of this right-of-way. Because this, in effect, instead of being a 50-foot right-of-way, it'll be a 90-foot right-of-way down the road. What we were talking about in terms, which will leave it now with the road shifting over, we plan on keeping the ditch line that's there presently in its present location, which is right near the present right-of-way line. And that would in effect leave this area open. And that's where we were talking about having the easement for any signage that would happen for the development that would be happening up Boulder Point Road. And Mr. McGinley has talked to Mr. Young, and they are working on what that sign should be. And that, of course, would have to go to the planning board for approval for the sign and things like that. But what we were looking for is, I guess, to just get some type of blessing that area that now would be kind of dead space could be used for the signage for everything that was happening in the development further on. The other thing that I guess we that we will need is there's going to have to be, and some of this is already underway, there's going to have to be a development agreement basically between the town, the state of New Hampshire, and Mr. McGinley, because really everybody's at play. Part of this is the town's road and right-of-way. Part of it's Mr. McGinley's property. And of course, we can't do any work in the state without an agreement from them. And as Miriam stated, one of the things that, to go back, as you probably know, when the Walmart development was approved in '99, one of the conditions of that was that approval was that Walmart would connect to this road once the road was open for public use. And I guess it was last year that the board said, okay, it's open to public use, it's time to connect that through. At that time, the state said, they had a concern because once that was opened up, that would increase the traffic down on this intersection that wasn't left. And Now with this being lit, that was the other thing that we wanted to make sure is when this intersection is lit, that connection will be opened up. It's in now, but it's just gated, and that gate will be put down. The reason for that is because the potential users of the property over here have expressed that they want interconnectivity between the properties. So we just want to make sure that, when we go to the expense of this, that gate will be taken down and that access will be opened up.
That's a variance, 5 feet.
What's that?
Variance.
Okay. And I don't know if we take care of this in terms of the other thing that we would be pursuing is because we're losing 41 feet of this frontage, we would be looking for a variance on building our parking variance on this side of the boundary line to be reduced, the setback requirement to be reduced in order not to lose the development potential of this whole lot. Because right now, this was originally 215 feet, and we've lost over 40 feet of it. If we impose the 30-foot setback, that shrinks this down quite substantially. And with the design that we have for the road, everything can be accomplished within there. There already is a drainage easement that comes down that's 20 feet from this area that comes down and takes in all of this area. So one of the things that we would be looking for is a reduction in that sideline setback for parking, or basically for parking, not necessarily for construction. And that is something that we would be pursuing to protect the development use of that lot.
Yeah, Kevin, that has to be pursued with the zoning board.
I realize that,
Okay.
but I didn't know if that was something that we're going to have to enter into, as I understand it, a development agreement with the town, with the Board of Selectmen, I believe. And I just wanted everybody to know that was where we were headed with that. So.
How far off of on the right-hand side, how far over is the road going to be extended? It doesn't look like it's that much, but maybe I'm just looking.
41 feet to the east.
41 feet?
This right-of-way is going to move, I guess it's 42 feet. 42 feet from here down. Okay, and this is so that these lanes can line up with across the street so that the light can be added at the intersection.
And the plan is to develop that lot to the right. That's pretty steep.
This lot?
Right in there.
Well, this area is quite flat right in here. It gets steep as you get back here. But the area down here is quite flat. And that's why it is even more critical to preserve as much of this as we can.
And the sign's going to go in
The sign would be going over here.
Okay. It's going to be like the present sign, just facing toward town, or?
Yeah, it would be facing towards, it would be actually two-sided, facing both ways. But and as far as it being like the present sign, I can't say yes or no because I haven't done that. I don't know what that ultimate design would be. Again, that's something that we would be going through the planning board process for, was a sign approval. We were just looking at saying, can we utilize this area for that?
Do we have sign?
The Board of Selectmen is the only one that has authority to approve the location of the right-of-way. But in terms of the dimension and the configuration, the height, how big it is, that goes before planning board. But they can't put it in the right-of-way. So Tractor Supply wants permission to put it in the right-of-way, which, as I said, the existing sign's in the right-of-way.
Okay.
Now, by moving that road down towards Plymouth that much more, does that leave any dead space that the town would be responsible for? Because we approved the road, we didn't approve any of the land on both sides of the road. We approved the right-of-way for the road.
By moving that road down, does that give that any, is there any dead space that we would be responsible for other than the road or the right-of-way for the road?
What it would do is it would increase the size of the right-of-way.
Okay.
This is a 50-foot right-of-way here, and in this area, it would go from 50 to 90. As far as dead space goes, the only dead space really would be this area over here, and that's what we were talking about utilizing for the sign.
And the town of Plymouth would be responsible for that?
What's that?
And the town of Plymouth would be responsible for that?
They would own the property.
Right.
I would think that would be something that would be done in the development agreement anyway.
Is that paved, the right-of-way where the sign's going to go? Will that be paved when you're...
No. In fact, actually, what'll happen is this is existing paved. This yellow represents what's paved now. This will be removed.
Yeah, that's right. We probably hatched that area.
Right, and then this blue line will be what will be paved at the end.
I don't know if you folks can see that far. This is the exact same two sheets that he has up there, the blue and the yellow. The yellow is the existing pavement, and the blue is the proposed.
Okay.
And why is the variance area being considered the right-of-way still?
Yeah, because, well, the only other thing we could do, which doesn't, is you being the town presently owns the title to this area right here.
No, I just didn't want the town.
Okay, so it just makes sense to just add this area to that and keep that. Otherwise what happens is we would create a triangular piece of property there that would have to be deeded back to someone, and it would probably have to be deeded to this lot, which would make it a substandard lot.
Because there's no room to the other side. There's not enough room to the other side for doing anything.
What's it on this side?
Yeah.
Well, that's a separate lot. Owned by somebody else. And again, this reconstruction is all moving everything this way.
Got it.
And those lights will be synchronized so that you won't have to stop and go and stop and go.
What's that? Pardon me?
The lights will be synchronized.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be sequenced. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that the Boulder Point right-of-way be relocated to align with the right-of-way across the road.
It's been moved and seconded by Valerie that the Boulder Point right-of-way be moved according to this, what is it, about 40 feet?
40 feet.
Any other comments?
And widened, correct?
And widened. The width of the right-of-way is going to be wider than it is after you move it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you put something in there that will be taken into consideration as far as the town's land being owned? So that we don't have that responsibility of owning land out, that little strip of land out there?
Well, we already own the land that's going to be abandoned, so to speak, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but that way we've got the responsibility of that too, if we own that land. We had just the responsibility of the right-of-way of the road.
Yeah, well, what are you talking about, reverting it back to the developer? Or
Bad idea.
Would that be a planning board issue, or?
Developer agreement.
Yeah. Right, it would be in the development agreement that they came up with, the planning board, probably be the maintaining of the area around the sign.
So we have a motion that's been made and seconded to allow the widening of the road and the relocation, basically. Is there any discussion, comments? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we have approved the widening.
Now you need a vote to open the gate at the same time that the light is installed
Yeah, we need, well,
and operational.
once the traffic light's operational, Wall Street access way will be opened under the authority of the Board of Selectmen.
So moved.
Can I see that print? Where is that access road on the...
It's way up above that.
Oh, it's above this, okay.
It's up in...
That access point is actually right up here.
Yeah.
So that's not, that portion of the driveway is not going to be affected?
No, that's not going to change. That's just where it's presently gated now.
All right. So I need a motion to...
I got the first from John, I didn't hear who seconded.
Valerie.
I made the
You
motion.
second it? No.
I made the motion on the number 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Darrell and Val on the first one.
Yeah.
John just made a motion on opening the gate.
Yeah, we need a
Need
second.
a second.
Second.
Seconded by Butch. So we have a motion that to open the Walmart access way once the traffic light's operational. And it'll be, do I have any comments? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So we have passed the, we've given permission to open the access way.
And now you need a
Now we
vote.
need a motion for the, grant permission to install a sign in the Boulder Point driveway right-of-way, which is, we haven't really, that right-of-way is owned by the town right now. And the discussion about whether it reverts to the developer or not will be a planning board issue.
So the planning board can entertain that.
Yeah, they can entertain it.
The board has
We've
to
given
give
permission if
use
this
the right-
warrant, so I'd like a motion. And permission to install the sign in the right-of-way on Boulder Point Road.
It was added earlier it was mentioned that we needed to also include a provision that the owner could move or remove the sign if it was necessary for the town to work on utilities on that property.
Remove the present sign, or the new,
Put that all in the development agreement.
Okay.
how do you want to word this?
Do we need to limit it to one
That part
sign?
would be worded by the planning board.
Okay.
And that would be in the development agreement.
Should we,
So I need a motion to grant permission to install the sign
That's it.
in the right-of-way.
should we limit the motion to one sign, or that's sort of implicit?
It's, I presume it's one sign. It's going to be a big sign with all those people up there.
Yeah, that's...
What we're doing is basically just giving permission to put a...
To use the right-of-way.
We'll discuss with the board.
Yeah.
with
The design.
The planning board will resolve the details. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved by Darrell, seconded by John. Grant permission to install a sign in the Boulder Point Drive right-of-way. Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion is passed. Third motion would be the Boulder Point right-of-way will need to be relocated to...
We've done it.
You already did
That's
that.
already done. Yeah, okay. That was done first, so we're...
That's it.
That's it. That was easy. Thank you.
I hope it was easy for the planning board.
Yeah, the planning board will probably take 6 months to clear this up. All right.
I'd like to just add, if I could, Chairman, that the stuff that was brought before the board tonight to help in the development of the Boulder Point area. And without us doing what we've done tonight, the developers wouldn't go through the following process of going to the planning board and the zoning boards and so forth, so...
The major issue is the moving of the road. The DOT's requirements for the light.
We're trying to be a little more friendly as far as trying to get businesses in town.
Yeah. Well, once that's done, everything that... all right, other business. Is Steve Temperino's not here. There is, I guess I'm the one that's going to speak about it, the parking committee consolidation with the safety committee. The reason for this is there was a parking committee meeting last Wednesday, or this Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday. And I'm on the parking committee, and Steve Temporino is the chair, and I think there's 4 or 5 other people. So I went to the meeting at 1 o'clock, and there were 2 people there, Steve and I. So we decided that it might not be a bad idea, because this is just one of those advisory committees that meets as required or once in a while, that we consolidate the 2 of them, because their activities are similar. And it would eliminate the need for an additional meeting and probably accomplish most of what we want to get done anyway. The safety committee and the parking committee have the police chief, the fire chief, and the highway manager as members, plus Board of Selectmen. And they're chaired by, well, Steve Temporino chairs one, and Tammy Hill chairs the other. So that would be a decision we'd have to make. Or the committee would make once set up. I don't know what we're going to call this, but the Parking Safety Committee or something like that. But Steve, when I talked to the chief, he thought it was a good idea. And, you know, when you have 2 people show up at a committee meeting that's got 6 people on it, you get a feeling that it's not really taken that seriously. And so I would like a discussion and motion, if at all possible, to combine the parking committee and the safety committee into one. And they can meet at the earliest convenience, decide their chairmanship and their goals and objectives. Anybody have any thoughts on this?
Are you going to limit the number of people that are on that committee? Because you put 6 and 6, you're going to have 12 people.
Yeah, I think we'd probably limit it to, well, a lot of them are the same people, but I think you're right. We limit it to maybe 5, 6 people tops. And preferably employees like the fire chief and the police chief and the highway department, and then some town residents, maybe 1 or 2 from the Main Street community. And we can resolve all these issues in the same time at
Mr. Chairman, you might,
meeting.
excuse me, you might have to go more than 6, because you have 4 employees themselves that have to be on it, and then a rep from the Board of Selectmen. That's already 5.
School.
Right. You have to have
PSU
PSU on there. That would be
PSU,
6.
The
So
chief, police, fire chief, there'd probably be a half a dozen.
Right.
We can decide that, yeah, there would be someone from the Main Street business community. As I say, preferably residents of town as opposed to non-residents. But if we decide to do this, then I would probably ask Tammy and Steve to get together and call a meeting, and then we can do the organizational stuff and get it underway. Is there any comments, discussion?
I don't see anything, I can't see anything negative about it. I think the parking committee at one time was met quite often. We did have a serious parking situation at one time, which Frank was addressed many times over. And so that did meet quite often at one point. But I think you're right, though, that the parking and the safety committee have a lot of common interests.
Yeah, Steve brought up a few issues that he wanted to change. There were at the parking committee meeting where the 2 of us attended. And one of them is at the bottom of Court Street to the left. He'd like to eliminate 1 parking space to give better visibility for people approaching the common. And then across the street, I believe in front of right across the crosswalk from the town hall to the other side, he'd like to expand the motorcycle parking so that you have visibility for people who are trying to cross the street without coming up behind a van or something like that and getting run over. So those are the kind of, and the chief will, you know, he's pretty much free to do what he wants anyway. But I think this one committee will eliminate 1 meeting and probably accomplish the same thing without. So, Do I have a motion to combine the parking committee, or consolidate the parking and safety committee? John Kelly's moved, second. Valerie seconded. Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So we don't know what we'll call it, but we'll let them have an organizational meeting and decide what they'll call it and who's going to be there. The last issue is the signing of the dog warden for unlicensed dog warrant for unlicensed dogs. Where's that letter, Paul? It's got a list of
Signatures.
Is that here?
Signature file.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, yes. A warrant for unlicensed dog, Plymouth Town Clerk, July 27, 2009, pursuant to the New Hampshire RSA 466:14 entitled Warrants Proceedings, you are hereby directed to proceed herewith either to collect the fees due to the town of Plymouth to be turned over to the town clerk or seize an unlicensed dog for holding in an appropriate holding facility. Pursuant to the New Hampshire RSA 466:16 entitled Returns, you have until 8/24/09 to return this warrant with a statement as to whether all unlicensed dogs in Plymouth have been seized and held under the provisions of this charter, and whether complaints have been entered against all persons who have failed to comply with the provision. This is signed by the 5 selectmen, and attached to it is a list that is substantial of all of the people in town who have not paid to license their dog or dogs. So by signing this, we have effectively authorized the police chief to collect unlicensed dogs and hold them in an appropriate facility until such time as their license fees are paid. This list is available in Town Hall. Can you?
Town clerk's office.
The town clerk's office, and it's got quite a few people on it.
Everybody has received the notification.
So they've all been notified, and the police are now authorized or basically directed to start picking up the dogs effective the 24th of August.
No.
It says a return. You have until 8/24 to return this warrant. Okay, so after which the warrant's issued, then the chief of police is authorized.
Effective right now.
It's effective. Yeah, 24, 28, 27. So all these dogs are criminals.
That's right.
Wanted people. Dogs, canines. But if your dog disappears, call the police department if you haven't paid his license fee, because that's where he's going to be. Any other issues? I don't think so. I think we're pretty well set.
Public comment.
Public comment. Frank.
Yes, I'd like to comment on the Parking Safety Committee combination. I think it's most effective because a lot of times on the Parking Committee, our next step would go to the Safety Committee to evaluate the proposals. One thing I might suggest is info copying to the town planner this parking, because we are working on the next phase of a Green Street sidewalk parking upgrade, and it possibly would want to interface with those committees to make sure what we're planning is appropriate. So maybe the town planner needs to be in that loop for that, for planning purposes.
Anyone else? I have a comment that's a follow to that. Chief Temporino and I discussed it briefly. There are a number of merchants, quite a few merchants, who park their cars on Main Street virtually all day long. And if it's a 2-hour parking space, they come out and move the car. Sometimes they just switch with one of their employees, and it's really the discussion we had was, how do we stop this? Or at least attempt to prevent it, because these parking spaces are being occupied by the owners. It's not room for their customers. It's really not a very bright thing to do if you're in business on Main Street, to park your car in front of your place so your customers have to park around the other side of the common or something like that. And there's quite a few people that do this. I had a suggestion made by one person that, one of the things we should attempt to do to enforce, or at least get the merchants to put their cars someplace other than Main Street so those spaces are used for customers, is the town should attempt to find some place where merchants can park their cars.
May I respond
Yes.
to that, sir? Well, in my study, what we have is 115 businesses on Main Street, and that's approximately 330 cars that come to work, no customers. That's just the owners and their employees. There's only 268 spaces available. Someone's obviously not going to make a space. There are several places that we are looking at to develop through the town planning process for parking. And that's one of the elements that we need as a group, a community, to work towards. And it's tough because the village commercial zone does not require parking. And that was because back in '61, when the zoning came in, obviously the buildings, being brick to brick, elbow to elbow, did not have any capability of putting on-site parking on their property. There was no room. Yeah. So this village commercial zone is unique in the fact that it needs to have a kind of a we, us, and ours type project to establish areas for parking for the growth and vitality of the business community. There are several locations that have been evaluated for this to happen, but it's a project that needs to have more support by the business community to acknowledge that right now we're kind of limited to any more business on Main Street because we're basically full by evaluating the infrastructure requirements to attract more people to the town. Basically, my count is somewhere around 2,000 to 2,500 people is the maximum capacity of Main Street because of parking, safety, sidewalks, and so on. When you do all the math from the study for Main Street, we're just about there. So we need to start looking at what's left to make it work on the double duty. In other words, not only look nice, but also provide the parking and the necessary facilities for our Main Street business community.
Yeah, I think it's something we should try to accommodate, if at all possible. It's someplace handy to Main Street, and then get the merchants to cooperate.
Now, would that be paid parking?
I don't know.
There are several different methodologies,
You can
but the
do it,
biggest
but-
problem has been the concepting phase, because you're dealing with municipality-owned land along with the business community, and the authority to act for the municipality is one element, and the authority to act for the business community is another. And the issue is then, how do you get to an agreement on the utilization of those properties and stay within the limits of the authority through the RSAs that allow you to have a public-private event, so-called.
I'd like you to come to maybe one of the first meetings of this new committee and discuss this issue, because I think there's a way, we ought to try to find a way to accommodate the merchants, and then induce them to cooperate for their own benefit.
Well, the one plan I have had on the books now for 6 years is the Plymouth Inn site, whereas that property from the Plymouth Inn could be reconstructed as a, say, conference center that would have, as an accessory, a parking system that connects Gould Terrace parking that would go all the way up to the library, and then I can get 15 businesses parking there, and that would be right downtown, right there. But that is definitely a project that would require municipality and the business community to come together on.
I've got
And
it.
that's,
Should we,
Okay. Do we have any other public comments? Okay. If none, do we have anything in non-public tonight?
Yeah, 91-A:3, 2D.
Okay. So we'll be going into non-public under that RSA, and I need to take a vote. All those in favor? Darren?
Aye.
John? Butch? Okay. We'll have to wait for Charlie to come back. All right.
you see that dog list? I'm not on there.
Yeah.
Okay, we're still on. I'll go check on Charlie.
Yeah, okay. Hey, Tim.
Pleasure to see you all.
Yes.